Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and it is finally time for the Modern Warfare multiplayer review. As you guys can see, this video is going to be quite long because we're going to be getting quite in-depth talking about Modern Warfare and Infinity Ward and the future of the Call of Duty franchise, and so much has come out in the past couple of days that's going to be giving us insight as to what Infinity Ward actually has planned for Modern Warfare, both at launch as well as post-launch, and of course a few days ago we got the full multiplayer reveal complete with gameplay of several different game modes. So today I thought we should just sit down and have an in-depth discussion about the game and whether or not this will be a good year for the Call of Duty franchise. Let's kick things off here today with the heart of the matter, the core gameplay of the Modern Warfare multiplayer. I think that this year is going to be particularly interesting because Infinity Ward's gameplay with Modern Warfare is going to be so starkly contrasted with the current gameplay that we see with Treyarch's game, Black Ops 4. I think it can be said that Modern Warfare is going to be the most tactical game in the Call of Duty franchise. Everything from removing the minimap to the addition of night vision modes and even the core movement and the gunplay mechanics, Modern Warfare looks like a much slower moving tactical shooter compared to most other games in the Call of Duty franchise. If you really think about it, Black Ops 4 is probably the most arcadey Call of Duty game ever. The movement is silky smooth, our characters are speeding through the maps, points are popping up constantly with bright colors everywhere and specialist abilities being used all over the place. Black Ops 4 is a really fast-paced, very casual arcadey shooter, which is actually a lot different than how I thought the game was going to play out when it first released last October. Whereas I thought the game was going to be super tactical because it was designed with self-healing and specialist abilities in mind, it actually just turned out to be super arcadey and the game doesn't really take itself too seriously. Modern Warfare, on the other hand, is a game that definitely takes itself seriously. The audio is absolutely fantastic, the maps are freaking gorgeous, yet realistic at the same time, which is pretty hard to pull off. The weapons look like real weapons with smoke coming out of the barrels, and this is pretty much exactly what we hoped a new Modern Warfare game would look like. How long has it been since we had a proper Modern Warfare game here in the Call of Duty franchise? I think Modern Warfare is going to be a big culture shock for Black Ops 4 fans when they make the transition over to Modern Warfare, and I actually think that's a really good thing. Variety is definitely needed here in the Call of Duty franchise. If you think about it, we used to have a lot of variety back in the day between games, but for a while there, a lot of the games started to feel really samey, with different twists, of course, being added by the different developers, but the games themselves didn't really have that much difference between them as much as they used to. If you think about it, Call of Duty 4 and World at War may have had a lot of similarities, but they were very different because of the setting and the theme of each game and how each game was played. They were really different, right? Which is why you could go back and forth between those games and really not get bored. The same was true of Modern Warfare 2 and the original Black Ops. They were very different for a lot of different reasons, but after that, things started to change a bit here in the Call of Duty series. Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2 had a bit of a similar feel to them. Obviously, they were different, but they were kind of samey if you think about it. Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, and Black Ops 3 had the exact same issues, and now with Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare, we are going to have such a different gameplay loop that the new game is actually going to feel like a standalone title rather than just another sequel in a long franchise that is quite honestly older than a lot of the people that are currently playing it. One of the core changes of Modern Warfare, and this is definitely the most controversial change, at least as of right now, is the removal of the minimap and the addition of the compass. There are currently two lines of thinking when it comes to this change. The first, and people are claiming that the developers themselves have said this, so take that with a grain of salt, but the first line of thinking is that the removal of the minimap is intended to lower the skill gap between good players and bad players, because kill streaks are going to be so powerful in Modern Warfare that the developers wanted to kind of blur the lines a little bit between what's a good player and what is a bad player. The idea is that they don't want bad players to be overly punished because good players have always been able to utilize the minimap map in a way that they always have an idea of where their teammates are and where the enemy team is. You're actually seeing some examples of that on your screen right now. I'm not saying I'm the best player ever. I'm actually quite far from it, especially if you guys saw me and my friends play in that Modern Warfare Remastered tournament a couple days ago, but I think the sentiment still stands true. Utilizing the minimap is a core part of doing well in the Call of Duty franchise, and without it, players are going to be able to camp a lot more and take enemies by surprise because of the sheer lack of information that you have on your screen. Now, the second line of thinking in regards to this is people think that not having a minimap will actually increase the skill gap within Modern Warfare. The idea is that players are going to have to learn the maps in a way that they never had to before, and spawn flipping and predicting enemy locations is going to be a much bigger part of this game, sort of similar to the hardcore game modes that we've seen in previous Call of Duty titles. I can definitely see both sides of the argument, but for me personally, I tend to agree with the argument that removing the minimap is going to lower the skill gap of the game. In my opinion, one of the core skills of a good Call of Duty player is reading the minimap and absorbing the information that is available to you, and then making informed decisions on what to do next, right? That's always been a big part of the Call of Duty franchise, and I feel like without that, the game is going to be a lot more unpredictable and random, which is going to result in a lot more frustrating deaths and frustrating games, which may turn people off the entire idea of playing Modern Warfare in the first place. However, on the flip side of things, I also feel as though the argument that Modern Warfare is basically going to be like the hardcore modes, but with more health, I think that's a valid argument. Now, you guys know me, I'm not the biggest hardcore fan ever, but back in the Call of Duty 4 and World at War days, I was primarily a hardcore search and destroy player. In Call of Duty 4, I had a ton of time in hardcore, but unfortunately, there's no accurate way to show you how much time I had in hardcore because the game didn't have individualized leaderboards, but in World at War, I had over 10 days played in the hardcore game modes alone, and just for comparison, I have just over 12 days of total playtime in the Black Ops 4 multiplayer, and in that time, I've made it to Prestige Master level 350, I've done 100% of the game's challenges and unlocked everything that I can that's not locked away within supply drops. I've done a lot of things within my 12 days of playtime in the Black Ops 4 multiplayer, and going back to World at War, I had a comparable amount of time just in hardcore alone. The reason why I played so much hardcore back then was because I enjoyed the changes that it brought to the table. People are always saying that hardcore takes more skill, or core takes more skill, and there's always this back and forth argument, but the truth of the matter is that they both require skill, but they each require a different kind of skill. The same is going to be true in Modern Warfare. A lot of these skills that you develop in modes like hardcore are going to translate over into the Modern Warfare multiplayer, and these skills include paying attention to the kill feed, listening for footsteps, knowing where your teammates are at pretty much all times, and knowing the difference when enemies are walking on steel versus concrete versus wood or grass, and of course knowing the maps well enough that when you hear that, you know exactly where they are based on that limited amount of information that you currently have. The problem with this system, however, is hardcore modes were never that popular in the Call of Duty franchise, right? I know some of you are going to try to argue this because no doubt some of you guys are huge hardcore fans, but back in the day, back when Call of Duty would actually show you how many people were playing the game and how many people were playing in each game mode, the top modes have always been core team deathmatch, core domination, and core search and destroy. Typically, and I'm just ballparking here, but about 5% of the player base or less would typically be playing the hardcore game modes, with the other 95% playing in the standard core game modes. That's why I think it's really interesting that they made the decision to remove the minimap in Modern Warfare, because they're essentially designing the entire game's multiplayer around a feature that 95% of the community don't really seem to enjoy. Again, just inferring numbers from the previous Call of Duty titles, we have no way of accurately knowing the exact amount of people that play hardcore, but I think you guys get the point that I'm trying to put across here. It's weird that they decided to remove the minimap when so many people play the core game modes as compared to the hardcore game modes. Now, for me personally, I'm willing to give the new system a chance during the beta, and I will go in with an open mind, and Infinity Ward has also announced, if you guys haven't heard, that they will be monitoring player feedback during the beta, but they want people to get hands-on experience before coming to a full-blown conclusion about whether or not the removal of the minimap is a good idea or a bad idea. I would not be surprised whatsoever to see them scrap this idea after the beta and go back to the traditional minimap, especially considering the fact that in competitive game modes, the minimap is going to be there by default. But regardless, it seems like Infinity Ward wants to do this big experiment where they try out this new compass and remove the minimap, and they really just want to see how the community reacts to it. For me personally, I think the compass doesn't really do all that much to replace the minimap whatsoever. You guys are watching gameplay from Ghost619 here, and yeah, we see red markers on that compass, but we have absolutely no idea where those players actually are. All we know is that somewhere in that general direction, an enemy shot his gun. If you think about it, to use like older Call of Duty games as an example, it's kind of like the equivalent of playing Team Deathmatch on Derail back in Modern Warfare 2, and the only thing that you know is that someone, either 20 feet away or 2 miles away, shot their gun somewhere within that general direction. I don't personally think that's a very good system, but again, I will reserve full judgment for when I can play the game for myself. Now, moving along here from the minimap, let's go ahead and talk about the kill streaks. Of course, I did a video talking about the kill streaks a couple of days ago, and I really like what Infinity Ward has done here. There are 16 streaks that have been revealed so far, and they all appear to be very powerful. I don't know about you guys, but that's exactly what I was hoping to see with this game. What made Modern Warfare 2 so much fun, and to a lesser extent Modern Warfare 3, or even games like Black Ops 2, is in those games, you felt rewarded when you earned your kill streaks, right? In recent games, especially in Call of Duty World War II, and to a lesser extent Black Ops 4, streaks just haven't been that rewarding. In World War II, they were incredibly weak and really difficult to earn, so your best bet was just to run requisitions, or just do what I did and run UAV, counter UAV, and flat guns pretty much every single match. In Black Ops 4, the streaks can be really good, I'm not trying to deny that, but when you look at how good they actually are versus previous Call of Duty games, they kind of fall short, right? We have a couple really good ones like the Strike Team or the Sniper's Nest, as you guys are seeing here, but with characters like Zero running around and people using rocket launchers, it's pretty easy to destroy these kill streaks. And so, once again, your best bet when playing Black Ops 4, and you guys see this in pretty much all my videos, is to just spam UAV and counter UAVs and basically turn your character into the kill streak by getting tons of gun kills with all the extra information that you have on your screen. Now, going back to the minimap discussion here for a second, with kill streaks like the personal radar and the UAV, it's being said that Infinity Ward wanted to remove the minimap so that more people run team-based kill streaks like the UAV and the counter UAV. Now, I think that's a very interesting design concept, but remember, in Modern Warfare, your kill streaks do not cycle through. So this means if you're running, say, the personal radar, the UAV, and the chopper gunner, after you get your chopper gunner, you cannot earn any more streaks within that same life. So there are so many very powerful streaks in this game that no doubt people are going to want to earn, but they're going to essentially feel required to run things like the personal radar and the UAV just so they can have a functional minimap to help them earn the streaks that they actually want to end up earning. Now, you guys know me, I run the UAV all the freaking time. I like being a team player, I like to win my games, but even from my perspective, I feel as though it's an oversight to pigeonhole people into feeling forced to run a certain streak or play a certain way just because of a questionable design decision like removing the minimap from the game's multiplayer. This actually reminds me quite a bit of the SATCOM debacle that we had back in Call of Duty Ghosts. It seems like Infinity Ward really wants people to play more like a team, but Call of Duty is Call of Duty. It's never going to require the amount of teamwork that games like Overwatch or Rainbow Six or even Battlefield require. It's Call of Duty, right? So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, and once again, I will be reserving full judgment until after I play the game for myself, but I think it's really interesting all the things that they're doing here by removing the minimap and adding really powerful kill streaks, but making it so it's kind of harder to get those kill streaks to level the playing field. It's definitely a very interesting design decision. Moving along here, let's go ahead and talk about the brand new game modes. Call of Duty Modern Warfare will support 10v10 game modes as well as 20v20 game modes, and reportedly even 50v50 game modes in addition to the traditional 6v6 and even some of the 2v2 game modes. There's been a lot of discussion in recent days about whether Modern Warfare is going to have a Battle Royale mode, but according to Infinity Ward, it appears that they are focused solely on the quote-unquote traditional multiplayer with this year's game. I think that's definitely the way to go. As much as I love Blackout, and I could talk here here for another 20 minutes about why, despite the issues, Blackout was actually a good thing for Black Ops 4, but instead of getting into that, I'll just say that I'm happy that Infinity Ward is not doing Battle Royale, and they're focusing on multiplayer with this year's game. I've actually seen a bunch of YouTubers saying that the 20v20 game mode was not really all that fun because it was super campy and it just really wasn't all that great, and I suppose that's to be expected with a game mode that has so many people everywhere all the time, right? It's obviously going to be easier to get picks, and if you can get your kill streaks are going to be much more powerful. If you care about leveling up and prestiging, XP gains will no doubt be through the roof while playing in these big 20v20 and these 50v50 game modes. It's definitely going to be a much different experience than, say, playing 6v6 domination on high rise back in Modern Warfare 2, for example, right? It's going to be a much different experience. I'm personally pretty excited for it, right? Traditionally, I've always loved the 9v9 ground war game modes, and I love having the extra players and the extra action and the score and the chaos that ensues when you have more people in the game, but keep in mind that these maps are going to be designed with these big game modes in mind. Now, one potential downside to this entire system is we may see the Modern Warfare multiplayer cannibalize itself like we saw in Black Ops 4. Because Treyarch's team was so spread thin, it seemed like the multiplayer would go weeks and even months with no real content updates, all the while Blackout was seemingly getting updates all the time and getting tons of attention. If Infinity Ward is designing maps for 20v20 or even 50v50, this may mean we're going to have less traditional sized maps when the game comes out that we can play normal 6v6 game modes on. If the game releases, hypothetically, with 16 original maps at launch, that would be incredible, right? We would all be very excited for that, but if only 9 of them are designed for 6v6 and 3 of them are built for these big team games and 3 more are built for 2v2, then fans of the traditional multiplayer are going to feel ripped off because they just want to play your traditional team deathmatch and domination and search and destroy in a 6v6 environment, but now they only have 9 maps to do that on because so much of the time and energy of the developers is being spent creating content for game modes that they don't want to end up playing. Now, there have been plenty of leaks and rumors surrounding the launch day map count, and maybe the game will release with way more maps than ever before to accommodate all these game modes, but this is definitely something I'm going to be keeping my eye on going forward, especially after the entire debacle with the launch day maps back in Call of Duty World War II, as well as Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Now, speaking of launch day content, that sort of transitions me to my next topic, which is going to be post-launch content. You guys may remember hearing that Infinity Ward and Activision have announced that there will not be a traditional season pass with this year's game, which means that post-launch multiplayer maps are going to be released for free and be available to everybody, though presumably PlayStation 4 fans will still get 1 week early access over Xbox and PC fans, but still, free maps post-launch, which actually sounds pretty awesome. New content, in my opinion, is what drives games these days. Maybe way back when, we were fine playing the same few maps over and over with the exact same guns that we had available to us since launch, but that was over a decade ago, right? Call of Duty has evolved in that time. The entire gaming industry has evolved in that time. Game developers and publishers are now in a constant competition with each other for your playtime, my playtime, everybody's playtime, right? That is what they are trying to do. They are trying to do everything they can to get you in their game, logging as many hours as you can, and presumably spending as much money as you can. With the lack of a traditional season pass and the gradual implementation of free multiplayer maps throughout the year, my biggest question regarding Modern Warfare is how exactly does Activision plan to monetize this game? If you look at Call of Duty in recent years, the monetization model has been pretty much all over the place. One thing that all these games have in common, however, is all of them have weapons that are exclusively locked away within supply drops, and supply drops are a major factor in every single Call of Duty game. It's not that much of a secret that what Activision likes to do is they release a new game with a pretty fair system. The hype train is rolling, people are enjoying the new content and the new game, and we're all so excited, but then after the reviews are out and after the holiday season is over, over, they pull the old bait and switch and they start to ramp up microtransactions and make the game a lot more anti-consumer. Because they made the decision to not sell a traditional season pass, I fear that this year's game could be the worst microtransaction game that we've ever seen within this franchise. Infinity Ward has said that the game is going to have cosmetics and in-game items and unlockables that are going to be somewhat realistic and down to earth, but remember, that's exactly how Call of Duty World War II started. When Sledgehammer Games released World War II, the soldiers were looking like this, right? When the game first came out, it looked like a World War II game, but then after 6 months or so, our soldiers started to look like this, which is obviously very different than how the game was originally visioned. We also had a bunch of weapon camos that were very realistic, and a lot of them were actually used during the Second World War, but then supply drops started filling up with camos that looked more like this, and the game itself started to change a lot more as it got older. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for fun and creative customization within the Call of Duty franchise, but I'm just trying to point out the fact that what Infinity Ward and Activision are saying right now about the game really doesn't hold a whole lot of weight, because every single year things end up changing. It's almost like creatively each Call of Duty game has a set tone and a set theme that they want to have at launch, but then 6 months later all bets are off and that tone and that theme seem to change pretty much entirely. I feel as though it would be foolish to think that it's not going to happen again with Modern Warfare. Sure, right now the game looks fantastic and it looks super gritty and realistic and down to earth and really fun, but keep in mind 6 months in, we're going to have flashing marijuana camos, and we're going to have pink tiger, and probably all sorts of crazy customization for our operators to make them look like bunnies like we see in Black Ops 4, and of course none of that is confirmed, but just looking at Call of Duty's track record, I think it's pretty likely that eventually stuff like that could end up happening to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, as of right now, supply drops are not confirmed for the game, but as I'm sure most of you guys know, COD points are. It's possible that the game will just have an in-game store similar to the black market that we find here in Black Ops 4, but again, I really do think it's foolish to think that this game is not going to have supply drops. They are such a driving force of revenue for Activision and the dev studios that I honestly think they will be a part of the Call of Duty franchise until the end of time, unless some sort of serious legislation comes through that bans supply drops and loot boxes from being used in video games. That's a real shame too, because I feel like, and I've said this so many times, I feel like they would make far more money if they were just to simply have a fair system that doesn't piss off and alienate half of their player base. Here's an example. I can actually use myself as an example here. During Black Ops 4, before they decided to go wild with supply drops and locking content away within them, I bought a few things off the black market, right? Specifically, I bought the Ultimus Richthofen and Takio skins, and the reason why I did that was because the Tank Dempsey and Nikolai skins were available for free via the Battle Pass, and when I look at the Blackout game mode, I felt as though it had more than enough content that could be earned without spending any money. Between the number skins and the Blackout characters and the level up characters and the challenge characters and the zombies characters, I was really happy with the amount of content that I had in Blackout, and even though I was annoyed that all 4 of the Ultimus characters could not be earned together, I ended up dropping the extra $20 to complete my collection and get those 2 extra characters. I also bought the Cherry Blossom camo because for me personally, it brought back a lot of great memories for Black Ops 2. If you guys don't know, I actually made it to Prestige Master twice in Black Ops 2. I made it all the way up and then I reset my stats and made it all the way up again. I really enjoyed that game and I really liked that camo, so I bought it off the black market for whatever it was, $2, right? Well, soon after that, supply drops started to get worse and worse, and weapons started to be locked away within them, and I said, you guys may remember, I said in an older video that I am now completely done with the black market, I'm done with season passes, I am done with all of these microtransactions in the Call of Duty franchise. I have not purchased a supply drop in the COD series since Black Ops 3, right? But with Black Ops 4, they promised things were going to be different, and for a while they were actually different, but then it happened, right? It happens every single year. They always end up switching things up on us, and I'm done with it, right? My reasoning behind this is now that weapons and lots of other bits of exclusive content are locked away behind the slot machine, I cannot feed into that system, right? And obviously, we're all adults and we can spend our money however we choose to, but for me personally, I will not feed into this system because when they look at their bottom line, they don't see me buying Richtofen and Takio because I've been playing Call of Duty since 2007, and I remember playing with these characters back in World at War when they were first revealed as part of the original Zombies crew. They don't see that, right? They don't see me as a super nostalgic Call of Duty fan that just wants those characters. They just see me as an extra $20 on the bottom line for a game that locks weapons away within supply drops. To them, it doesn't matter what you spend your money on. If you're buying COD points and you're feeding into the system, then you're feeding into a system that locks weapons away within supply drops, and it's almost encouraging that system because the more they do it, the more money they make, and they're going to continue doing it as long as people are feeding into that. Again, I'm not trying to start a revolution here or another black market blackout because that totally didn't work back in Black Ops 3, but I'm just saying for me personally as a consumer, I'm not going to feed into that. I'm not going to be spending that money, and I feel as though there are plenty of other people out there who are like me, people that don't buy supply drops, but they do have an extra $5 here or $10 there that they are more than willing to drop on a game that they are putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into, but we're not dropping that money. We're not putting in that extra $5 or $10 or $20 here or there because we refuse to feed into a system that locks so much core content away from the player base. Such an anti-consumer system that just ruins the experience for so many people. We're not feeding into that, therefore Activision is losing out on all of that money. Now the question is, are they making so much money from the other people that do feed into that system that it's okay that we don't feed into it too? Like, it's hard to tell obviously, but for me personally, I feel as though they would make more money if they were actually consumer friendly and did not try to nickel and dime us and screw us around every corner like they have been in previous years. I truly do hope that we see a completely revamped system within Modern Warfare. This could be a new era for the Call of Duty franchise, a new beginning of sorts, but if history is any indicator, it's going to be the same anti-consumer BS that we see every single year. Now, speaking of supply drops and individualized items, let's move on and talk about the replay value that we're going to have within Call of Duty Modern Warfare. As you guys are seeing from the gameplay here, and once again, thank you so much to Go619 for supplying me this gameplay. Without him, I don't know what my background footage would be for this video. Watching the gameplay here, the maps look fantastic, right? The weapons look really good, and it's going to have a bunch of different game modes and really powerful kill streaks. The game itself looks like it's going to be fun, and it's going to have a much different feel to it, right? The big question, however, is what systems are going to be in place to keep fans interested in the long term? Back when Call of Duty was fresh and new, fans like myself were able to play for days and days just for the gameplay alone. That's all I needed, right? I was there for the gameplay. I loved it, right? Well, that was a long time ago. How old is Call of Duty now? It's like 16 years old now, right? There needs to be a lot more going on than just the core gameplay to keep fans interested. I think Black Ops 4 is a great example of that, and I understand that Black Ops 4 is a super divisive game. Some people really enjoy it, other people hate it and think it's the worst Call of Duty game ever, but for me personally, and it's pretty evident by the fact that I've done so much within the game itself, I think it's a pretty fun game, and I think it's really interesting what Treyarch was able to pull off here. So in Black Ops 4, we obviously have battle passes that come out with each event and each new operation, and for me personally, that's a big driving factor to play this game during each event, because so long as I put in the playtime, I'm going to unlock a bunch of content. Now obviously, a lot of it is locked away within supply drops, but there's a lot of content for you to unlock with each one of these battle passes within each of these events and each of these operations. That feeling of always progressing towards something is one of my favorite things about Black Ops 4. Whether I'm playing Blackout or multiplayer or doing whatever, every second of my in-game playtime is going towards unlocking new skins or weapon variants or actual guns or whatever else is available for free via that operation's battle pass. On top of that, once you complete the operation, you then start earning reserves at each tier, and there are now contracts that are available every single day across Blackout, multiplayer, and zombies which will give you experience and more reserve cases and merits and plasma and wherever else you're trying to go after, right? I really do like the contract system. It gives me a reason to sign in every single day, and it actually has me playing the entire game, whereas back in the day, say maybe back in the original Black Ops, or even going back to Call of Duty 4 or Modern Warfare 2, I would play the extra game modes like Zombies and Campaign, but like 99% of my time was in multiplayer. Well, now, roughly 66% of my time is in multiplayer, with the other bit of my time being spent between Blackout and Zombies. It has me playing the entire game, and it always has me working towards something, and I really hope to see a system like that be added to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, I'm not saying I don't want the old school progression systems to return for this game. Of course, I want prestiges and to grind through gold camos and level up and do all these different things that we've always done, but what I'm saying is here in Black Ops 4, there is an extra layer of progression that is always happening in the background that rewards you with a ton of free content via the Battle Pass, and then of course a bunch of randomized content once you complete the Battle Pass for a given event or a given operation. I'm not saying I want the Black Ops 4 system to be copy and pasted into Modern Warfare, especially with the randomized supply drop loop, but I do hope that Infinity Ward has thought ahead about something like this. The idea of events in Modern Warfare has been discussed. We already have it confirmed that there will be events in Modern Warfare, but I hope they take that further by introducing Operation Battle Passes like we have here in Black Ops 4, and on top of that, I want there to be special weapon variants and specific operators that you get at each one of your prestiges. I want there to be huge rewards when you hit Master Prestige. I want the game to have, like I said, its own equivalent of Dark Matter, and I think there needs to be a very robust and detailed combat record and leaderboard system. Just whatever they do, they need to find a way to reward people's playtime. They have to give us a reason to play other than just the core gameplay, because everyone plays for the gameplay, right? That's always going to be there, but after the opening months, say after the holiday season, there has to be an extra layer to the game to keep fans interested for the long term. You can't just have a core gameplay system and then give us a couple of maps here or there and call it done. There needs to be a lot more to that, and I'm really hoping that Infinity Ward has thought about this. I would also like to see them introduce rewards for people who have played the previous Call of Duty games, or even specifically the previous Modern Warfare games. You guys may remember back in Modern Warfare 3, they had a simple system that on your player card, it would show your prestige from the previous games. Why not bring back something like that and maybe have special unlocks and rewards for people who have played those previous games on their account? You guys may have noticed in recent years, they've really been pushing us to download the Call of Duty app and make our accounts on CallOfDuty.com and link our gamer tags and our Steam IDs and our PlayStation IDs, so they already have all that information. It's already there. It's already linked up. Why not do something cool with it, right? Just in general, going full circle here, I really do hope that Modern Warfare gives players a reason to continue playing in the long term. Like I said, everyone plays during the first few months. That's pretty much a given, but what's important is how they handle the post-launch months. That's what really determines how good the game can be within the long term. Now, speaking of long term, and I know we're getting sort of off track when it comes to Modern Warfare, I really want Activision to delay Call of Duty 2020. You guys may have heard the news that Raven Software and Sledgehammer Games pretty much failed with their version of Call of Duty 2020, and now Treyarch has been called up to lead that game going forward. Why are they doing this? Just delay it. There's no sense in rushing out that game more than the games are already being rushed out. When was the last time we had a new Call of Duty game that came out that had a ton of launch day content and no problems? Can you think of one? Because I personally can't. It's been pretty freaking rough in recent years, and if they're moving Treyarch up to do Call of Duty 2020, that means they're also going to have to move Infinity Ward up to do Call of Duty 2021 as compared to what they originally thought they were going to be doing, which was Call of Duty 2022. If they push forward all the developers to rush out these games, every one of those games is going to suffer. Black Ops 4 is going to suffer because it's supposed to be a 3-year game. Remember when they said that? How is that going to happen if Treyarch has to release next year's game now? How are they possibly going to create an entirely new game while heavily supporting Blackout multiplayer and zombies? I really don't see that happening, especially considering how the updates have gone so far during the launch year of Black Ops 4. And when it comes to Modern Warfare, if Infinity Ward has to push up their new game one full year, how are they going to support Modern Warfare post-launch? Suddenly, we're going to have another situation like we had in Black Ops 4, where we go weeks and months with no content updates, and that is the last thing that the Call of Duty franchise needs right now. Take a year off, Activision, I'm freaking begging you. Just support Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare heavily throughout the year 2020, and then get back on the schedule, releasing new Call of Duty games annually. I feel as though that'll be the best thing going forward, but I've talked about this all before in recent videos, but I felt as though I should bring it up once again here, because what's happening with COD 2020 is definitely relevant to what's going to be happening with Modern Warfare. But just in general, guys, to wrap things up here today, this is a super freaking long video. I think Modern Warfare looks good. It's going to be a much different Call of Duty title than we're used to, and we say that almost every single year, but I mean, really, looking at it, seeing how it plays, we've seen tons of gameplay, we've seen tons of different game modes. It's going to be COD, but it's going to be a much different Call of Duty experience than what we're used to. I think a lot of us just wanted them to release Modern Warfare 4, right? We basically just wanted them to give us Modern Warfare 2 once again, but with different guns and different maps and different kill streaks, and I feel as though in a lot of ways we are getting that, but in a lot of other ways, this game changes a lot about what we know and what we love about the Call of Duty franchise. I feel as though Infinity Ward is taking a huge risk with this year's title. They are trying to innovate, they are trying to shake things up, and when the multiplayer beta rolls around next month, we'll see for sure whether or not all these different risks are going to end up paying off. If you remember, Call of Duty Ghosts, it was a pretty innovative game. They tried a lot of different things with that game, and even though some people really liked it, a lot of people didn't like Call of Duty Ghosts because of those core changes that the game made to the Call of Duty formula. Again, I'm going into the beta with an open mind, and I encourage all of you guys to do the same, but this year is going to be very interesting. I feel as though if we go in expecting the game to feel like Modern Warfare 2, we're going to be disappointed. If we go in thinking the game is going to be even like Black Ops 4, we're going to be disappointed. This game, in a lot of ways, looks and appears to play, I still don't have hands-on experience, but it appears to play from the gameplay I've watched and the people I've talked to, it seems like it's going to be its own standalone title. They've added enough things and changed enough things about the Call of Duty formula that I think fans are going to find the game to be really interesting. If you guys haven't heard, the game is going to have what are called field upgrades, which are basically like specialist abilities that refresh throughout the game, but they're a lot more down to earth, and they basically function like equipment from the previous COD games. When it comes to create a class, they made it so you can have up to 5 attachments on any gun, right? And that's pretty freaking incredible, but the attachments are going to be different because each attachment is going to have pros and cons, so you really have to make some important decisions when making your class, while at the same time, you still have a primary, a secondary, a lethal, a tactical, as well as 3 perks and a field upgrade. That's pretty freaking interesting, right? Like I mentioned earlier, there are 16 streaks in the game as of right now, and more could be coming later. We really have no idea, and they all appear to be very powerful, but they're going to be much harder to earn. The maps themselves are going to be a bit, I mean, they're not going to be as traditional as what we see in games like Black Ops 4, but they're going to be different and still have that same Call of Duty Modern Warfare feel to it. The game itself looks really interesting, and I'm very excited to try it out. For all I know, it could be terrible. It could be an absolutely awful game. It could flop and be the worst Call of Duty game to ever release, but based on what we've seen so far, just watching all the footage and learning everything we can about the game, it looks like it could be very fun, and I cannot wait to try it out for myself when the multiplayer beta rolls around. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you guys here in this video. This project definitely turned out to be a lot bigger than I initially anticipated, which is why this video was delayed, but I hope the video was worth the wait. Let me know down there in the comments, what do you think about the Modern Warfare multiplayer? What do you like about the game? What are some of your concerns about the game? Leave all your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section below, and as always, as we get more details about Modern Warfare, I will keep you guys posted with more videos, so be sure to subscribe if you guys are new, but until then, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.